Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday, October 24th. Nice little snapback in the market today. The worst has passed as far as the tax drain. Of course, that tax drain, I alerted you guys to the fact that that was going to happen like way back in August. I said, probably even before August. I'm giving you this stuff like quarter by quarter. So probably in June or July, I said, by October 15th, we're going to have another tax drain and we're going to see some volatility. Volatility, of course, is a code name for the market going down. But this is normal. These things are all baked into, they're set in the schedule, in the way the government operates in terms of its spending and taxation. And so it's nothing to get worried about. What we need to focus on really is that top line spending flows and the net flows, which is the deficit, okay? Yesterday, actually, there was a little bit of a tax drain. So we're back at a 20 billion surplus for October for the federal government. We were, it narrowed down to like 7 billion. Now it's 20 billion. I don't know what today's flows were like. Probably a positive net flow. We'll see the numbers in tomorrow's Treasury statement. And tomorrow is a Social Security payment. So that's usually about a 25 billion net positive flow. So, the recovery is on track. I would buy, if the market pulls back, I would buy any dip in here. We're coming up towards the first of the month, and the first of the month, that is the date that we have those large spending flows. You got stuff like Medicare, Medicaid, military pay, veterans benefits, disability, all that stuff goes out on the first of the month. And that's like a 94, 95, $100 billion leading flow. It's like a 69 or 70 billion net flow. So everything is coming back. The swimming pool is filling back up. I know some of you guys, you just want it to happen right away. Boom, we run right back up to the highs. It just doesn't work that way. And that's why I always say two things. Number one, have patience. And number two, be aware of the scheduling of these events, that they're baked into the calendar. They're set in the way the government operates. And you just have to understand that they are there, the good things and the bad things. The good things obviously are the quarterly interest payments, IRS tax refunds, and any time that Congress raises spending, you have automatic spending increases with Social Security. We usually have automatic spending increases with defense. Now we're, getting involved in another war. So, and I hate to sit here and say, oh, that's good for the economy. Let's have more wars. That's a terrible, horrible thing. Don't think in any way that I stand for that. But I'm just here to explain what's happening on the fiscal side. That's my core analysis, and how that's going to impact the economy and the stock market. One thing I want to mention, sometimes I forget to think about these things, but now it is popped back into my mind, is the fact that the current continuing resolution, that's what Congress passed at the end of September, which keeps the government funded, that runs until November 17th. Okay, then they got to do another one. And you know how hard it's always hard for these guys to get that done. Every time it's brinkmanship going right up to the last hour, the last minute. And now we have no speaker in the House of Representatives, and who the guy who was considered like today's favorite, he dropped out. So the House can't even if they have a bill which lays out what the spending is going to be. They can't even bring that to a vote because you don't have a speaker. So that's problematic because that also hits at a time, November 15th, November 17th, that's when this cycle of positive fiscal flows, that's when that's going to peak. Okay, so even without let's say we didn't even have to worry about the continuing resolution. I mean, the flows will peak around November 15th. Then we're going to start, coming back down again. And then you come into December, where the 15th of December, you have another quarterly corporate tax drain. I know a lot of you are saying, oh man, it's never going to end and we keep going down. We don't keep going down. Over time it goes up. They're spending $7 trillion plus annually with deficits approaching $2 trillion annually. So relax, stay calm. I'm just trying to put this stuff out there for you in advance, like nobody else does, and I'm going to talk about some other things in a second, but I try to put this stuff out there for you in advance so you know how to plan for it. It's like, sometimes I like to use the mariner example. You're out there on the open seas, you get the weather report, okay? You know what's ahead. There's a storm brewing out there, and just batten down the hatches. You know how to prepare for it. Or there's going to be sunny weather, good sailing weather, stuff like that. I mean, it's the same exact thing. You want to know in advance what it's going to look like. It's not something that you should be afraid of, and not something that, that cause you to get so worried and concerned. It's just like that. It's information, and you have to learn how to use information to your advantage. I mean, if it freaks you out, if these fluctuations freak you out, that's because you're not informed. It's like, if you think of like primitive tribes that, they used to see like lightning in the sky. Oh, the gods were angry. The gods are throwing lightning bolts, or they see maybe a solar eclipse or something like that. They didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the understanding of what that was. They couldn't explain that phenomenon, so it had something to do with their mythology. They explained it in a way that was along the lines of a kind of mythology, or having to do with some god is angry, they had to make up a story to rationalize what it was. We don't have to do that. I'm telling you right now what these things are. You should not be afraid of them. You should be aware of them. And that's why I'm here to tell you. But you shouldn't be afraid of them. And you shouldn't listen to these cockamamie stories about, oh, this is it, and another crash is coming, and blah, blah, blah. And, we saw this whole thing with the interest rate, reality, the whole interest rate, how that all played out over the last 2 years. And all the stories about how everything was going to crash, and, the economy was going to go into deep, deep recession. Here we are again. I'm going to mention Ray Dalio once again. I've been talking quite a bit about this guy because I think he lost his marbles, if he ever had any to begin with. Because last year he was among the crowd who said, oh, there's definitely going to be a recession in 2023. He was very, very bearish. Because of what? Because of the rate hikes. Again, he doesn't, these people, monetarism, the single variable understanding, leaving out completely leaving out one side of a balance sheet, the understanding of double entry accounting, all that stuff. And then in the beginning of 2023, he was again, really bearish, talking about how QT, quantitative tightening, is going to kill the economy and the stock market, not understanding that what is quantitative tightening? It's an asset swap. The Fed takes away reserves, it puts in government securities. It's dollar for dollar. As a matter of fact, it's dollar for more dollars, because the government securities earn interest, as we've been seeing now for the last 2 years, year and a half. that these interest income flows. I mean, look, they talk about it nonstop about how the government's going to have to pay more interest. The government's going to have to pay more interest. Always kind of framing the whole thing like the poor government or such a burden, not in any way ever saying, think of all that extra income being transferred to the economy. No, that part of the story always gets left out. It's like, oh my God, the government's got to pay more. Yeah, it's got to pay more interest. It's a net payer of interest. No big deal. So then, he got bearish on that, and then he got bearish on, remember when they finally raised the debt ceiling, and he said, oh my God, that Treasury refunding, they're going to have to sell so much debt, and it's going to drain all the the liquidity. Again, not understanding that it's an asset swap. So yeah, the government puts in like a massive new amount of government securities, takes out reserves, dollar for dollar. Nothing changed. The pool balance is the same. As a matter of fact, it goes up because now those government securities earn money, right, which the government pays. So like you got these guys. Same thing with, like, I did a video a couple of weeks ago on Paul Tudor Jones, the guy with 3 names. Why 3 names? I don't understand. Why 3 names? And he's all worried. They're all worried. And for me, it's fun. And it's fascinating, really, to see these very, smart people. I use that term a little bit, as you can see, like, facetiously. These very smart people, they're all, like, sitting there wringing their hands, like, so worried. Like, if you're so smart, and I get it, they have a lot of money. I get it. They have a lot of money. But I explained to you guys many times in the past, actually, like, if you're Ray Dalio and you're running $150 billion, he doesn't have a hedge fund anymore. I think he's basically retired, or he just runs his own money. But for a long time, his hedge fund, Bridgewater, I think they were the biggest. They had like $150 billion. When you look at these guys and their fee structure of 2 and 20, 2% management fee, 20% of the profits, and I did a breakdown many times. I mean, I'll do it again. On $150 billion, the management fee alone, okay, that 2% is $3 billion. So boom, right there, you're a billionaire, okay? And even Paul Tudor Jones, let's say he's managing, I don't know, 10 billion, 15 billion, I don't know, 10, let's use 10 just to be an easy number. And he gets a 2% management fee. That's 200 million. Like in 5 years, just 5 years, and that goes by like that. On that management fee alone, he's a billionaire. All right? Doesn't have to do anything. Doesn't even have to make money for his clients. Okay, if you add the 20% profit, even if he makes what? Let's say you put it in short-term treasuries right now, you're making 5%. Okay, 5% on 10 billion is what? 500 million. You make it, and that you get 20% of that. That's another 100 million. So there you go. All right. So that's 300 million, or what I say, 300 million in 3 years. In 3.5 years, he's a billionaire. If these people have whatever their genius is, and they are very, very smart in one respect. They get people to give them lots of money to manage for what I would say is a really spotty, track record. And maybe some of these guys have a good track record. But I mean, in general, if you look at the performance of hedge funds vis-a-vis the performance just of the S&P, I mean, they're way, way behind. But why are they all rich? They're all rich because it's just that it's that 2% management fee that makes them rich, and the ability that they have to raise all this money. But it's like one big tight-knit group, and they're all in it, and it's so they go to all the same parties, they hobnob with the same people, they all probably share pretty much the same clients, like pension funds and institutions. You give a little bit here, they give a little bit there. each one of these guys, gets a piece of these institutions' funds that they have to give out to managers. So like it's like an insidious clique. Anyway, so yeah, Dalio said that. Then what else happened? I thought there was Ackman. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this. So Bill Ackman, he was in the news the last couple of days because like supposedly he had this short treasury position on because inflation. And I'm going to show you how a lot of these guys, they just guess. They really don't know what they're doing. So he had the short treasury position. And all of a sudden yesterday, or the day before yesterday, he got out. He got out and because he said the economy is slowing much faster than anyone imagined, something like that. And it was all over the news, like Bill Ackman got out. Bill Ackman covered his short position. Bill Ackman covered his short position. Bill Ackman covered his short position. Bill Ackman, hey, did you hear? Bill Ackman covered. Bill Ackman, short position, out. Wow, short position. So like I'm thinking, what made him change? Like he just comes up with this. The economy is slowing much faster. Like, what did he see precisely? And here's, I'm going to weave this into what we do, what I do. What did he see? He saw maybe a data point or some data points, maybe some economic data that the government releases, which by the way is collected like 30 days ago at the the latest, maybe a quarter back, and he's like, looking at that, and suddenly it's like he's extrapolating like the economy's slowing down. He's not, folks, there's nothing, at least that I could determine, that he looks at that is anything forward looking. Like all of a sudden he flips out and covers his position because he says, I'd like to see, as a matter of fact, it's just funny because the Atlanta Fed just upped their GDP forecast, for like 5-point-something%. So I'm telling you, folks, these people, they're just guessing. They're guessing. And they're passing this off as, serious analysis. Here's an analogy. Let me go back to, using like weather forecasting is a good analogy. And I know some of you might roll your eyes and say, the weather reports are never right. Actually, they're pretty good. They're pretty damn good because weather forecasting is a science. They have models. They look at atmospheric conditions and they know, like, given certain atmospheric conditions, it's going to produce some kind of a result. It's going to produce rain. It could produce wind. It could produce, a storm, a hurricane, a tornado, something like that. They don't always get it right because, weather is a dynamical system. There infinite amounts of inputs that go into it. So it's very, very hard, even with supercomputers, to get it exactly right. But they're pretty good. But what Bill Ackman is essentially doing is not like looking at conditions out there, like as they develop and saying, well, this has the potential of becoming a storm because, we got a low pressure system, we have a humid air mass moving in, we got all these, these elements that make it right for a certain thing to happen. No, basically what he's saying is like, we just had a hurricane, so that means there's going to be another hurricane. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The hurricane has come and gone. It has no relevance whatsoever about what may develop in the future. Now, what I do is I show you, like, we got these things up ahead that you have to be aware of. And then we have the big macro picture that you have to be aware of. So I just show you how nice I am to you guys. I could sit here and say, okay, the macro picture is bullish. Just be long the stock market and go play golf for the rest of your life. And if policy changes, I'll let you know. No, I say the overarching, you're spending $7 trillion plus annually. There's no way you're going to have a recession in that when you're running, 2 trillion deficits. But then what I do, I go one step beyond it and I say, okay, folks, here's what's going to happen this quarter. You're going to have a tax drain, then it's going to be recovered, then you're going to have a quarterly interest payment, then you're going to have another tax drain. Maybe some of you don't want to hear that because you don't like the squiggles, you don't like the ups and downs. You want it to just go, in a perfect world, it would be wonderful if we just put our money in and it just keeps going straight up. But I mean, that's not the kind of reality that we live in. So what's the big deal? I mean, take the information and run with it. You know what I'm saying? Don't be scared. Don't be impatient. Don't be whiny. I wish it would just go straight up. Why is it going down? Like, come on. Be a grown-up. I'm giving you information here. Nobody else is giving you this information. Use it. Use it to your advantage. If nothing else, then to just keep yourself calm and relaxed. If you're in a fight, let's say I've been doing boxing. So like, if you're in a boxing ring and your opponent tells you beforehand exactly what punch or what combination they're going to throw, don't you think you're going to have an advantage? And I've used this same analogy in a let's say you're playing poker, and you know the hand of your competitor, your opponent. Don't you think you're going to have an advantage? It's exactly what I'm providing to you here. All these other guys, they're not doing that. They're just like Bill Ackman. Oh, I think the economy's slowing down. Why, Bill? Because you saw a weak number? And then from that weak number, you're just saying all the next numbers are going to be weak. No, that's not. Look at earnings right now. I told you this at the beginning of the year, that earnings were going to boom because of these flows. Because the flows go right into corporate profits. Nobody's telling you this stuff. Nobody is telling you this stuff. I don't even know why I'm telling you this stuff. Maybe because I like you guys. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial of MMT Trader. See you tomorrow. Bye.